Welcome back to MVM. We're here with another Kickstarter preview for Free Market from Unique Board Games. This is a 2 to 5 player economic game.
And this game takes place after the Depression. You're trying to basically rebuild your empire and make money by buying and selling goods, opening factories, opening shops, and things like that in New York City. This is a game that is a worker placement, but the worker placement is done in an interesting way where you have a line of actions that are going to be triggered in order. So not like a traditional worker placement game. Now, you do see the game set up in front of us. It is a game already in progress. We are a couple rounds in here. We wanted to give you enough to kind of show you what the game is going to look like. But everything that each player gets is kind of spread out here. And every player is going to start with a few components of their own.
Remember, this is a prototype that we're looking at. Although it's a very nice looking prototype, things may change between now and actual final product.
Yeah, and every player is going to start with 3 of their managers. And the managers are these big meeples. Again, like Kira said, not final, but you're going to have 3 big meeples, and you're going to have the ability to gain smaller workers. You also have shops, roadblocks, trucks, things like that. And everybody starts with money to kind of get you going. So to start the game, we're going to seed the board with these dice. These dice are going to reflect the market price of every resource. There are 7 resources in the game linked to these 7 clocks. Every resource has a basic value that's going to be modified based on where this counter happens to be, and also which row of the market it happens to be in. So when you add all of these things together, you're going to get the final price of the good. And this is going to change from round to round.
Yes, and you'll roll a die each round to determine whether the market's going to go up or down for each of those clocks.
Yeah, that's the first thing you do on every round. You've got this blue pawn here that's going to keep track. You're going to go actually through 17 phases, which sounds like a lot, but when you break it down, it's actually pretty simple because this is going to guide you directly through everything you do in the game. So yeah, after you've finished adjusting all these markets, you're going to look down here at, this is the shipping containers.
So with the shipping containers, you're going to choose which of those different rows you want to bid on, and you're trying to get crates in order to ultimately sell them and use them for different actions throughout the game. And the prices for those crates are dictated by the die faces that you see out here.
I can choose to bid on a crate. So for example, this one with 2 purples, I look at 6, I have to bid 12. But other players around the table can try to outbid me for that. I could end up with nothing, or I could get it for 12, and then it's going to go to the next player, and so on and so forth until everybody's passed.
From there, we're going to go and start placing our managers out on the board, and you'll see in these different places there are a number of spots that managers can be placed into depending on the player count. Some places will only have 1 space, where others will have 1 for every player playing. As you place these, you're going to start with 3 managers, so you can get more throughout the game. You're going to place them in order to take those actions, and then depending on how many workers are in each of these spaces, or if there are any, we're going to move through each of these phases. Ryan?
Yeah, that's the meat of the game, is going through these action spots. And these action spots are triggered one at a time based on who's there. So for this example, we would start with the union member. We'd look at who's there, and they would take the action. And these actions are actually printed on both sides of the board. So no matter where you're sitting, you're going to be able to see what you do. In this example, you're going to take the first player marker, you're going to get some goods, and you're going to get what's called purchase orders. Now this is another item that you're going to be collecting during the game. There are these tiny purchase order tokens. These are going to dictate how many goods you can sell on your turn. The more purchase order tokens you have, the more goods you're going to be able to sell, and they're actually worth points for you at the end of the game.
The next action is air freighting. Here you're going to gain purchase orders, strike tokens, and some money. You're going to be able to trade your resources and your crates as you go. But the most important thing I want to talk about here are these lovely little strike tokens. These strike tokens are fun in that you can start messing with people on the board. You're going to be placing them out and trying to basically put the workers to strike so that it makes it harder to sell your goods at those different locations.
Yeah, areas like this that are striked and factories that have strike tokens on them can be activated. So it is kind of a little take that element. Mm-hmm. There are ways to get rid of those strike tokens, but they're kind of unfortunate. And then you move on to road work. Road work is going to let you take one of your roadblocks. This is another component we have in the game. And you're going to place a roadblock either here at the top of the board or here at the side. When you do that, you're actually going to gain money from everyone that has built in that row or that column. And you're going to gain money for anyone that does that in the future as well. So you can build these roadblocks to kind of future-proof yourself so that you're making more money every turn.
So the next action, you're going to spend $3 to gain 3 workers. These are the smaller meeples, and they're going to allow you to be driving your truck and selling your goods throughout the game. You'll also acquire one of those strike tokens, which we mentioned are very valuable to blocking people later in the game. And you're also going to pull one random good from the bag.
Yeah, this is the way to get goods, one of the ways to get goods without having to pay that market price. You want to get goods for free as often as you can so that you can sell them later for higher. All the goods are hidden in this bag, so you don't know what you're going to get until you draw it.
Next, we have adjusting the market demand. And that is what you saw at the beginning here with the different clock tokens. You're going to have the ability to manipulate this and adjust the die faces and the value of each of those crates that you have.
Yeah, and these can move either clockwise or counterclockwise, and you'll notice that they're going to change. Going from +1 to -1 is actually kind of a 2-point difference. So if you know you're going to be selling later on in the round, you can use this action first to manipulate. And only one person's going to get to go there, so nobody else can come around and manipulate them after you're done. So you kind of have a lock on that.
Absolutely. So our next action is express delivery. Obviously, this game is about making sure that you're moving these goods. So having different delivery options is going to give you different results. In this case, you're going to spend $3. You're going to be able to trade your goods for money based on where they're located. And then you can, you can go ahead and draw from the bag. You'll draw 4 and you'll put 1 back.
Yeah, and that's again another great way to get resources. We'll talk about delivery here in a minute because there is an actual delivery action, but if you want to do what the express delivery and get your truck into an area to block it, you have to pay 3 coins to do that. But in some instances, because there is a lot of take that and a lot of blocking in this game, it is very much worth that $3. And the next action is going to just let you buy or sell trucks. The more trucks you have out on the board, the more goods you can sell, the more you can block other people from buying and selling. It's pretty simple. But you do need to have, like Kira mentioned, 2 workers to drive each truck. So having a truck behind your player board without 2 workers, it's kind of useless for you. But if you do find yourself with an extra truck, you can sell it for some money.
Okay, next we have purchase orders. Ryan mentioned these earlier, so we won't spend too much time on them, but you're going to spend $3 in a crate in order to gain purchase orders and a strike token. Again, these are very valuable to have throughout the game, and you want to make sure that you are using those at the right opportunity. So again, increasing your purchasing power and creating blocking power.
Yeah, and those strikes are important because the next action is to make a partnership. And you're going to be able to make a partnership with a shop or with a factory, and you're going to do that by spending $2. Everybody has a number of these little houses, and you're going to put this house anywhere that there isn't already one. And you can put it on any of these shops or these factories. And each of these factories is going to give you a bonus every round at the start of the round. So having a factory is very powerful, but also every time you have a shop, if somebody comes and sells to that shop, you get some of the money that they made from that shop. So planning these is very important, but that's also where the strike tokens come into play. You'll notice here, somebody already played a strike token on the red player, so they can't sell to themselves to make extra money. All right, the next one, the next action is the gala honoring. You'll notice that we've had this little Empire State Building cut out here. Again, not final. So this is going to sit on the side of the board. There are a variety of actions during the game that are going to require you to take your money and put it into this Empire State Building. And this is going to require you to place $3 into the building in order to claim one of these politicians up here. Now you're going to notice that each one of these politicians has a requirement. If you don't meet the requirement, you are not able to take this politician. But once you do, you're going to claim them, and then at some point on your turn, you can use them. Politicians can be used for a variety of different things. They can move a truck out of a space, for example, and you have a player aid here that is going to show you kind of what you can do with the politicians.
All right, next we have standard delivery. This is exactly what it says, standard delivery. You're going to deliver up to 2 crates, or based on your purchase orders, potentially more, to one of the locations out on the board and get the money in return for those based on their current market value.
Yeah, and the way you're going to do that is by taking your truck and moving it to a specific place. For example, I can move it over here to yellow and sell yellow goods. Now, I only have 1 yellow good in this instance, but if I had 2, I could sell 2, but since I have a purchase order, I could actually sell 3. Now I got to keep in mind that I'm actually giving the green player some money when I do that. You can also block spaces like I said, but when it comes to time to move, I cannot move somewhere where somebody already is unless I have more workers than them. So this is an instance where I could take a worker from behind and move it here with my truck. Now I've got 3 workers to there too. I can actually bump them and take that action. You can also use this to try to take over other people's roadblocks and shops. And so you can actually convert some of these shops to your control, which is kind of a very punishing thing you can do in this game.
So we have senior managers as another action, which is allowing you to get more managers into your staff. These are going to ultimately cost you more money throughout the game because you need to be able to pay them, but it is nice to be able to have more of them on staff.
Yeah, you're going to be able to take more actions spread out here when you do that. And the last action is going to take from that charity. I mentioned that all throughout the game you're going to be putting money into this Empire State Building. This is going to let you take all of the money out of it and put it in front of you behind your player board. Or you can contribute $2 more into it to copy one of these actions. So if something got blocked, you can still have a chance to use it. However, this is the last action. So things like manipulating the market, it's not really going to hurt anybody because they've already made their deliveries at that point.
Right.
Once you've triggered the end, you're going to move all the way back to the beginning, and you're going to start by doing all of those same things again. You're going to readjust the supply. You're going to refill any shipping containers that were sold. You're going to take all your workers back. Any strike tokens that were left on the board are going to go away. They only last for 1 round. And then on the second or future rounds, you're going to have to pay income. You're going to get any abilities from any factories you might have, and then you're going to have to pay for any workers you have beyond 3, or I'm sorry, any managers you have beyond 3. So like Kira said, you could get more managers, but you have to pay for them every round. In addition, if you've already used your politician, you can pay $1 to reactivate them and use that ability again this round. And then you go right back into that auction, right back into placing the workers, and you go through all of these workers again.
Now, throughout the game, you're going to have the ability to take your token off of one of these politicians and move it down to these achievements. Now, these achievements, you do not have to move when you've accomplished it, but you want to move when you think you're going to be working towards accomplishing it, but not too early because of the politician. So there's a happy balance there. But once you've put that token on one of these achievements, you're now eligible to score for that achievement later at the end of the game.
Yeah, and the game is going to be played over a certain number of rounds based on player count. Normally it's going to be 5 rounds. You're going to keep moving this, but there are some variants for playing more rounds or less rounds based on how quickly you want the game to go. Now, we talked about we have these little player shields. On the back of the player shield, it's showing you everything you need to know, including your in-game scoring. So at the end of the game, you're going to score 1 point for every dollar you have. So money directly contributes into points. Then you're going to score for any components you have on the board. You're going to score for your roadblocks, your factories, your shops, and your purchase orders. You're also going to score for your managers. So you're going to get a point for every manager you have at the end of the game.
Very good. And so now we're going to go into scoring those achievements I mentioned earlier. If you happen to have one of the your tokens out on that location, you're going to make sure that you've actually met the requirements of the achievement and then score accordingly. Ryan, can you tell us what each of these do?
Yeah, each of these achievements is going to score, like she said, for only if you have a thing on there. And each one correlates directly to one of these actions or symbols up top. For example, this right here is going to give you points for having partnerships or factories. You're going to get points for having road work. You're going to have points for having workers, trucks, goods at the end of the game, and more managers. But again, you're only eligible for those points if you have placed one of those discs there. And you only get 4 discs in a game.
And it's only if you get out and actually claim a politician first that you can move one of those discs down.
So you're going to have to kind of manage all of that during the game, but these are going to be points that are added to your total score.
Lastly, we'll talk about a couple of variants that are available for this game very briefly, just so that you know that they exist.
Yeah, there are 2 other ways or things you could add on to the game to change the experience. One is these purchase stocks, which is something you could do on your turn. Each one of these stocks is going to have a different purchase value. Later on in the game, you can trade this stock in to make some money, or you can hold it to the end of the game. If you hold it to the end of the game, you don't give into that temptation to sell it, you're going to get even more money, which again, money is directly correlated to points. Now, they recommend this stock variant for more experienced players because it does give you something else you have to manage during the game.
Next, we have these occupation cards. You're going to be dealt out a number of these at the beginning of the game, and then you get to choose 2 that you'll want to keep that are going to give you a number of additional actions depending on which ones you choose.
Yeah, and those again are going to add another level of complication to the game. You can use both the occupation cards and the stocks together for an advanced game. So guys, that is Free Market New York City. This is on Kickstarter right now. So take a look at their Kickstarter page. You're going to see some of the upgraded components because like we said, nothing here is final. So take a look at that, then come back here, leave some comments, ask questions. Thank you again for watching and following everything we do, and we will see you next time.